I'd say invest and, you know, the numbers don't lie. Uh, go with this program, go with rapid bookings. I know you have the potential. I know you have the time, like you have the drive. Um, you just need a guide. So let these guys guide you.
Nice, man. Well, thank you
Yeah.
for taking the time and doing this interview.
Yeah, yeah. No, thanks for having me, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to kind of take a second, highlight your kind of story, your background, the progress you've made inside kind of rapid bookings. I saw some glimpses of it, and we were very curious and intrigued. You've been doing some good stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like I told you, the numbers don't lie. And once I kind of stepped back and I saw the numbers, and thankfully my CRM software allows me to see the numbers, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like you kind of feel like you're doing good, and you look at the numbers, and you're like, oh no, yeah, they don't lie.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of kick this call off with, can you give me kind of a quick rundown on like your background? Like how did you get into wedding photography? Kind of, your story, kind of share your passion story with us.
Yeah. So I won't try to be too long, but
Yeah.
I used to I used to be a DJ back in high school. I've always loved music. I still DJ on the side here in my house and just kind of bedroom type of style stuff. Did that in high school, worked for radio for a little bit. From radio, went to weddings. Did a few weddings, loved it, still love it. Just the vibe, the energy, and everything. Then I got tired of it. Kind of stepped away from that. I've always had kind of photography in the back of my mind, and just always played with cameras and stuff like that. Played with cameras and just shot everything and everyone and any opportunity I got. Then yeah, it just people started paying me for shoots. People started, um, you know, portraits and pets and businesses and just kind of all over the place. And then I saw myself kind of like, hey, let me try to get back into the wedding scene, but with photos. Shot my first wedding, like $400, and I felt like I was overcharging by like a lot. I didn't feel that qualified, and I was there for like 12 hours. It was a long day, I remember, but I was pumped, to shoot a wedding, and then just kind of piled on from there. And the weddings got bigger, the weddings got more expensive, and then you know it just, yeah, that's kind of the long story short. So way to put it.
Yeah. I mean, at what point were you like, okay, I want to really do weddings as like my career? Like I want to pursue this thing. It's not just a fun thing on the side.
Yeah, I think it would have been like right before COVID. I was almost gonna quit my full-time job. I felt like leads were coming in, pretty stable and stuff like that. The numbers were adding up. But then obviously COVID hit, so that kind of pushed me away from doing that full time, or at least relying on it 100%. And then 2021 came around, and I saw everything kind of just pick up again, and that's when I really felt, a lot better as far as numbers wise. I felt a lot better just with myself, with my own work. I felt like I improved, and yeah. So then 2021 came around, and then 2022 is when I really, really started hitting it hard. Um, and 2022 has been my best year so far. Um, Actually, no, I think 2023 is going to be my best year. So I know it is actually. So, yeah, thankfully, my wife doesn't, my wife actually quit her job back in December. So we're pretty stable in that sense where we rely on it to that point.
Nice. So, what were you kind of doing marketing wise? Like, I know, like you were saying, like 2022
Yeah.
really picked up for you. What was going on?
Yeah, I was kind of sporadic. I would, I felt like, hey, it was slow during this month. Let's make an Instagram ad. And I was trying to post every day, and I still do. I still try to be active on my socials. But I felt like, hey, if I post every day, or if I tell people I'm booking now, or say the keywords. I don't know. I was trying to figure out that secret sauce for the longest, even before 2022, just kind of trying to see what works, and um listing my pricing, not listing my pricing, and then pushing this ad, not pushing this ad, uh trying to figure out what was working and what wasn't. So I was kind of all over the place. I would boost posts on Instagram, and then I would uh, just make Facebook ads that I saw in like a YouTube tutorial. So hired people on Fiverr. I was all over the place, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of trial and error. Sounds like throwing a ton of spaghetti on the
Yeah,
wall. I mean, what was kind of like the main problem or struggle that you were going through while you're just trying so many different things?
I think it was like, okay, do I put all my chips over here, or do I put some over here, put some over here, and like when I mean in the different areas, like do I focus all on Facebook? Do I focus all on Instagram? Do I focus on Google? Like what the heck? Where do I put all of my attention to? So I feel like that was one of my struggles. It wasn't so much, hey, I don't mind investing in my marketing. I know it's important, but I need to know what works. And I really don't have the time to play around with it that much.
Yeah, I guess in a way, it sounds like you were looking for more like certainty and knowing that, okay, if I invest my time, my energy, my dollars, like this thing will pan out. Um, I don't know. That's just what I'm getting from what you're saying. Does that kind of sound right?
Yeah, yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. Like again, I'm big on numbers. I'm like, show
Mm-hmm.
me the results. Show me, you know, if hey, if it's gonna take X amount to get, X amount of results, that's fine. I just want to know that it's working, and then show me the way to get there. So, and everyone, it was, I mean, everywhere I tried, it was just kind of like low effort in a sense of like just click here and it was kind of like a slot machine. It was kind of like throw money at it and see what was working, and that, yeah, that's just not good.
At what point were you like, okay, this has to stop? I gotta get real, maybe get some help. What was that thought in your head?
I think it was for sure early last year. Um, Coming out of 2021, I was like, okay, 2022 is gonna be jam packed, and to a certain point it was, but I just wasn't happy with the amount of weddings I was getting. I was having large gaps of time of weddings, and um, middle of 2021 is kind of, I don't know why I waited until middle of 2021, but I'm sorry, 2022, not 2021. So
Gotcha.
middle of last year, I was kind of like, okay, like I'm making pretty good, amount of money from these weddings. I need to reinvest it. I need to, again, figure out a way to really make something work this time, and really just focus on what I need to do. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, I really love that because that investor mindset is super important. A lot of people don't understand that kind of that input to output relationship. If I'm putting in 1 hour of my effort, what do I get as an output? Or if I'm putting $100 into this machine, what do I get? I'm curious, like, how did that thought pattern come into you? Like, how did you start thinking that way?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it with education wise. So like I've invested in courses on how to get a certain look from a photo. And it pays off. Like you work at it, you find out what works, and you ask for some, maybe guidance within the person that made that course or something like that, and you see the results. So it's no different with money, and actually with marketing. So it was something that I was looking for. So I wasn't, I knew it was going to work. I just wanted to be convinced, and I wanted to, like, again, see the results, and see what, return of investment I was going to get.
Yeah. So you've got the investor's kind of mindset. You know
Yeah.
how important education is, and you're like, okay, I can't be just playing the slot machine, like you called it, and I need some help.
Yeah.
What's next? What happened for you? And then, like, yeah, what were you kind of looking for specifically?
Yeah, I was looking for, uh, you know, you can Google search, Facebook ads course or sheet, and they're very cheap. They're probably like 50, $100, and it kind of gives you some ad copy, ad text, and you know, from the other side of the window, it's kind of like, oh, okay, I'm only investing $100, and it's just maybe a quick video, and it's something like, use these three ads, maybe they'll work. And it's not even focused for wedding photographers. So anyone can put an ad out right now, a restaurant,
Oh
a
yeah.
DJ, a florist, obviously it's out there, but uh, I was looking for something specifically like someone who's been in my shoes, someone that, knows what they're talking about for people that I'm trying to market to. That's what was really important for me.
How did we come across, like, um what made you kind of interested in rapid bookings? How did that pique your interest?
Well, and I think it was in the training video. It was it was like 20 minutes long, which is very unusual for uh something that someone is trying to, convince you. Not unusual, but like it's like 30 seconds of like, hey, you want money? Boom, 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 boom. Here's this 30-second video on why you should book with us. But with rapid bookings, it was like very like, these are the steps that we need to take in order to get here. And I liked how it was explained, step one, da 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 da, step two, and so forth. So that allowed me to just kind of build more trust in the system and kind of just get to know it at least a little better. Maybe it wasn't for me, but at least, hey, I took a little bit of time and seeing what this is all about. So when I kind of jump in, or at least learn a little bit more about it, there's no real surprises.
Yeah, just to be clear, you were talking about the free training video that I have on our website.
Yeah, correct.
Cool. So that was like, okay, you were thinking like, okay, I probably should reach out to him and talk about the kind of the next steps or what he could help me out with, right?
Yeah.
What made you feel like, okay, you know what, this is the right move for me, or this is the right guy?
Yeah, it was again during our interview with you and I, and it was more like uh you took the time to see like, hey, is this even right for you? Is this even something that is going to benefit you? um Maybe you just started photography last week and you picked up a camera. Maybe that's not for you, but maybe someone that's a little bit more seasoned, a little more, has time under their belt. uh I definitely felt like that process was, I was able to communicate that and kind of exactly what I was looking for. And uh, it was explained to me, how it would benefit me. So, again, with numbers, it's not, you know, so much. Again, I'm big on like data and numbers and stuff like that. So, proven results on like that it does work. So that for me personally was big.
Yeah, that's kind of the same way I operate, not to toot my own horn, which is like, I obviously want to look for clients that I can absolutely help. Otherwise, like, why would I want to try to sign you on? Like, it's only gonna make me dig myself into a hole, damage my own reputation. So, like,
Yeah.
believe it or not, like, we cancel about like 30+% of applications that we get because
Hmm.
of that reason. Some people, like, I've noticed in the beginning, they were like asking questions like, hey, what camera do you think I should upgrade? I'm like, if we're having that conversation, you are not in the right place to really grow the
Yeah.
business. Like, no harm, no foul. Like, come back in a few years. Like, this is for people that have a solid portfolio. They're comfortable with what they're doing. They're just ready to accelerate their business. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And it's, perfect example of like what camera should I? And it's like once you have a few years in this business, it's like cameras are always going to be there. You
Yeah.
can get that whenever. You don't need an expert to tell you get this camera or sell you this camera, but you need guidance on, maybe purchasing other cameras in the future, getting building up that wealth, that bank account, and you know expanding so your business in different areas, so cameras and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm glad, like, that's not really on my mind.
No.
That's not really what I'm worried about. Gear is I was so worried about gear my first couple years of business, and then I started realizing, like, no, what brings in money is new clients. So
Yeah.
I
I mean,
needed help in that.
everybody goes through that phase, right? When you
Yeah,
first start,
yeah,
my gear, my portfolio, my Instagram, and then you realize, you know what? I got to get serious about business and marketing because that's what's going to put food on my table. That's how I'm going to
yeah,
survive.
definitely. I couldn't agree more.
Cool. So let's fast forward. Now you're officially a client inside Rapid Bookings, right?
Hmm.
You've made the investment. It wasn't $50 or $100 like you were talking about.
Yeah.
Was it worth the investment for you?
Right off the bat, seeing that first month of leads coming in, and then bookings coming, converting from those leads, and then um, I know I had a lead kind of come in during um, the beginning stages of the course and everything.
Yeah.
So it didn't come through rapid bookings, but I was able to use um, the things that I had learned throughout the course. And I remember I booked it like right on the spot, and I
Yeah.
was like, that's never happened. And I remember telling my wife, like, I texted her, I was like, check it out. We're like already halfway through paying off, the course and like stuff like that. And it paid itself off, you know, super quickly. So uh very, very
I
exciting for
do
sure.
remember that because you posted
Yeah.
inside the community and you were asking, "Hey guys, I got like an organic inquiry, like how do I deal with this?" And I remember like me and Christina, like we gave you like advice, and the next day or whatever, you're like, "I booked it." I was like,
But
"Man, look at Drew
yeah.
go."
Yeah, that was really cool. So
So let's talk about numbers. I mean, what's been your total revenue so far?
for I have the notes right here. Um so I started in July. I was looking back at my numbers. Um, in July, I started the program. I ran my ads in August. Um, and then in August, I brought in 13,000 worth of bookings. So that's about two weddings. Sorry, three weddings. My math is off.
Cool.
Three weddings. So that was the first month. And then I had that for September. And then November was my biggest month, coming in at 17,000. So looking at, like, yeah, three weddings that I booked for that month for this year, 2023.
Nice. And then what about so far, like December, January?
Yeah. So December was my slowest month. That's usually the norm for me, same as
Yeah.
January. So December I brought in 5,000.
Okay.
So that's one wedding and a couple of portrait shoots. In January I just booked another wedding uh last Thursday. So a little over a week
Nice.
ago. So
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, we're recording this in January, so we're like 2 weeks into January.
Oh, okay, okay. On the 12th, whatever day that was.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
Do
So
you
yeah.
have a number like total what you've done so far using our strategy, everything that you've learned?
Yeah. So in ads, from August to December, I did spend $3,000 in ads. And then with the system and everything. So total, spend of about, I want to say 6,000 in ads, and the course and other things like that. So I would say for sure expense wise 6,000.
Cool. And then what was the total revenue again? Because I don't want to add up all your months.
Okay, okay. Let's see. So we got, yeah. So we're looking at around 47,000.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, that's such a. It's so weird to say that. I've seen it on paper, but like right now that I'm saying it to you, it's just still weird. For me,
Yeah.
it's yeah.
I mean, what impact did that have on you? Like, I mean, mentally or personally?
Yeah, mentally, it was more like, um how do I say it? It was just a lot less things to worry about. it was very weird for me to be booking in that time. I'm used to booking like January, February, March in the past. But to have people contacting me for weddings a year out, 9 months out during that time, like while I'm photographing weddings, like it was so busy. And that's why, I haven't really had time to chat with you in the past. It was just I was shooting weddings, meetings during the week, um, you know, everything that I had always, planned for. And I was like, kind of, it was pretty hectic in the best way possible. Um, and it also affected us, even financially. My wife, like I said, quit her job back in December.
Congrats.
So that's thank you, thank you. So yeah, she's a big help to the business, and um, yeah, it's now her full time job as far as bookkeeping and kind of stuff in the background for us. So wouldn't have that if it wasn't for all these new jobs coming in.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, that's the goal, that's the dream, right?
Yeah, and I think it's just so much for me to process that I wasn't expecting it to come so fast, or yeah, and it just kind of obviously it's half me, half the program. We complement each other, but it's also the results of just putting in that work. I'm big on if you do the work, if you take the time, um, you make the investment, again, not only financially, but just with your time, it's gonna pay off big time.
Yeah. I mean, how did it feel for you to go through that kind of up and down, what you call the gambling slot machine thing that you were doing, to now having something like where you don't really have to worry about marketing? Now people are reaching out to you for their
Yeah,
wedding. What was kind of going on for you?
yeah, no, great question. So it was like, so I always went through that like slump these past few years, like mid season, where I'm like, do I really want to do this anymore? And do I, is it worth it? All this work, all this, quote unquote gambling, and with not only financially, but with my time, like spending all this time and money, and then coming out, still very low on the low end. Like it's not financially, it just wasn't worth it. Um, so that's when I again started just kind of really digging in, and seeing what would work best for marketing. So switching that mode from, do I want to do this again, to no, I mean, I it's such a different mindset. Like it allows me to now focus on maybe more creative stuff and less on marketing, and kind of go back to the reason why I got into this, is for more the creative side, and just have more free time.
Yeah. Because like you want to pursue your passion, but then you also want to make sure that passion is supporting you financially. Because at the end of the day, man, like obviously, like we all want to do this full time, have a ton of fun, work with clients that we love, but the money also has to be there,
Yeah,
and more importantly, we have to have kind of the marketing and the sales system that supports that income, because otherwise you're going back to the same old thing, gambling your time and energy. You're going to get some bookings here and there, and then you're like, what's next?
yeah, and that's the what's next. I was tired of that. I was tired of like let's see how 2023 goes. Let's see how, I kind of saw this pattern after like 3 4 years. I was like, I can't continue it. Like there was no point.
Yeah.
So it just didn't make sense to me to keep going. So and I always go through that again, that slump, and I was just tired of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of us and a lot of the students inside the program, like they all have like a this first eureka moment, like OMG, like I can take a newly engaged couple, that's my ideal client, get in front of them on like Facebook, Instagram, wherever, using an ad, now convert them and get their wedding booked. Did you have kind of a moment like that, like OMG, this is working?
Yeah. And I think we just at least I did. I doubted myself because I've never taken those steps. Like when we learned about the steps that we need to take, I'm like, what the heck? it almost felt unnatural. It almost felt, you know, yeah, it just felt really different, and it is. It's totally different from what 99.9% I'm sure the majority is doing. I was part of that 99% of taking, inconsistent steps on trying to book a couple. So using what I learned and just kind of getting used to that workflow, this new workflow, your confidence just skyrockets, and along with the amount of bookings and leads that come in. So they work hand in hand for sure. So that doubt, or like that feeling of it being weird at first, shakes off pretty quick.
Yeah. What's been kind of your favorite aspect or lesson from the program? Obviously, without giving the entire enchilada away, but if we could
That's a
highlight some
good
things.
one. That's a good one. I mean, you know, for me, uh, it would be how to conduct sales. I was always terrible at that, and how sales isn't always, like a um, car salesman. It's not,
Hmm.
that like pushy, um, mentality. It's more like, what needs do you have? How can I help you? How am I the right photographer? And you go through these steps, and clients tell me all the time after, the sales call, they're like, hey, like, thank you for taking the time to like get to know me and not just see me as a price tag or like a booking.
Yeah.
Thank you for like taking the time. And I've never talked to these people before. I'd never, maybe an email here and there, but for them to like feel that comfortable with me within like a very short span of time is crazy good. So that in itself, like learning how to uh, talk to people, just learning how to have consultations, and kind of having like a format, and like yeah, a format to lead the client, and just kind of get to know them a little better is so valuable. Because I mean, you can get a lead, but what are you going to do with that lead? How are you going to respond? What's your next step? So having that framework was, I think, probably the biggest highlight for me.
Yeah. If I can add anything to that, like, if you look at any profession, right? Even if you're a doctor, what do you do when a patient walks into your room? If every single
Yeah.
time you are checking up on a patient different and you're fumbling through the process, how much confidence do you think your patient would have in you?
Yeah, no, that's perfect way to put it. I'm glad you brought that up again. And it's like, for the longest I was like, here's this package, and yeah, let's see how it goes. And then I come to find out that it's like, hey, like, we we're only getting married for like, 2 hours, and we don't need this elaborate crazy package. So I, redid that framework, redid that workflow, and again got to know the client. Like, okay, this client doesn't care about albums. They don't care about, printed canvases. But in my packages, I had that. So to me, it sounded good, but some clients can care less. So I was able to, customize, craft stuff to each client, and that just makes things much more appealing for every client. Every client is different. Every client has different needs. Yeah,
Yeah, people have a lot more respect for you because you're going above and beyond to understand them,
definitely.
create something custom, make them feel appreciated and understood.
No, that's understood. That's the word. That's the word that a lot of people use. Understood. They use they truly feel that way, and I truly do, as a photographer and as a business owner. I feel like the client experience just goes way, above and beyond, because if you take good notes, once they become your client, you know exactly what they're looking for. You know exactly what, headspace you need to go in, um, on the day of, and whatever other, encounters you're gonna have with them, and you just get to know them a little better. So that's a big plus too.
Cool. So you've got the leads coming in now. You kind of nailed down your sales process. Things are working fine. Um, what advice would you have to some of the newer students inside our program? They're coming in kind of like where you were. What would you want to say to them?
That's a big question. What would I want to say to them is just ask for help. Ask for help when, whether it be whatever you feel like is where you're lacking. You know, some people can be really good at the tech stuff and on the back end, but they lack in sales, or they lack, you know, maybe a sales pitch, or they lack in maybe how to word their ads, or, you know, whatever it may be. Just ask, and, you know, someone's always going to excel in that point, and then vice versa, you can help them out in what you and excel in. So having that little community we have in Rapid Bookings is like pretty cool, because it's like it's small, and it's like it's you can reach out and they'll know exactly what you're talking about. It's not being flooded with like unnecessary, you know, people that uh, don't know what you're talking about, or, you know. And it's kind of cool like posting our celebrations, because it personally gets me pumped. And
Yeah.
like I don't post on there to like show off, and I know the others don't, but
No.
but it's like it's so true. Like I can see the effect of celebrating with everyone else. So that's big. Yeah, just post your little wins, post your big wins, post everything. Just keep it alive.
Yeah. I mean, again, I might be biased because this is my own, I'm tooting my own horn, but we try to keep it like a family, right? We don't have
Yeah,
thousands and thousands of students. That's not our goal. We want to keep it intimate. We want to make sure we know everybody's story, what you're going through, what you need help with. So anytime you need help, we're there for you. Or we also check up on you. We're like, how is this person doing? Let's message them.
yeah,
And that's the
yeah, and
goal.
yeah, and to add to that, I another thing that's like really cool is that I can't, so the weekly coaching calls, I can't make them to all of them. But you guys, you know, play the recordings, and there's some like good little nuggets, golden nuggets of information. Uh, you know, with sales or whatever, maybe someone else brought up a question that I hadn't even thought of. Um, and it just the information itself, like it's a lot. It's a lot of good stuff that you kind of see your business in a different viewpoint now. At least I do. And it's really fascinating, and it kind of opens my mind to maybe other businesses and other, you know, avenues, but that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if someone's on the fence, or if you rewind back the clock, the Drew that was like a few years ago, trying different things with ads, boosting posts, maybe buying some 50 or $100 course, Googling stuff, what would you say to that Drew or that person?
I'd say invest, and, you know, the numbers don't lie. uh, Go with this program, go with Rapid Bookings, and I hope future Drew has that, you know, that data to show it, and like, hey, this is what is coming in. You know, I know you have the potential. I know you have the time, like you have the drive. Um, you just need a guide. So let these guys guide you.
Yeah. When you were first launching your ads, did you have any like nerves, like, oh,
Oh
I'm nervous
yeah.
about
Yeah,
how,
I think,
what
yeah,
advice do you have for that?
I would say just trust the process. Uh, you know, you're gonna have business expenses. Just look at it as another business expense. You're a business owner, it's gonna come, you know, along. And the way I helped myself out was like, okay, I'm gonna spend money in my business, but I'm not gonna buy a camera. Like a camera's not gonna make me more money. I'm not gonna buy this fancy equipment. That's not gonna make me more money. What's gonna make me more money is marketing. So let me put, again, all my time, my attention, my money, um, with marketing. Because then I'll be able to buy that camera and this and that and other stuff that I'd want. Um, and yeah, that's exactly what happened. Just like that. Uh, you know, taking the time and you know, trusting the process. Just let it run its course.
And it's a write off. Your entire
Yeah,
ad
yeah,
spend is a write off. Talk to
yeah,
your lawyer, I
yeah.
mean, accountant.
It is. So I'm like, why not? Like it just it doesn't make sense not to.
Yeah. I mean, if if you allow me to go on a little tangent, I know a
Yeah.
lot of people, have this sense of pride. They're like, oh, I'm hustling and grinding for leads. I'm doing Instagram reels. I'm chasing down brides on like Facebook groups, or I'm doing the knot, wedding wire, whatever you call it, or blog posts. And I personally refer to that as the old way. Sure, they may have worked like many years ago, but those necessarily don't work. And it's not a scientific, predictable process where if I do this one thing, I can expect this other result. I mean, it's just crazy to me. Like, why would you go through that entire business process, hustling and grinding, when you could have kind of a proven process that's a
Yeah.
tax write off?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's like that takes I hate wasting time. Ask my wife. Like that takes so much time. It takes to create the blog post, shoot the content and create it, and then you post it and it's like it dies. So you're like, okay, maybe that doesn't work. So all that takes time. And time is money. And it's like it, if you're a smart business owner, and if you know what you want, like why not invest your time in this?
Yeah. So what's next for you, man? I mean, I know you've got big
Yeah.
goals for 2023, probably the next few years. If you could share just a little snippet of that.
Yeah. For this year, just again, now is where it's prime, engagement season. So I'm
Yeah.
very curious to see how those numbers uh, are, rolling out, and seeing how that works. I'm already seeing a really big uptick with just leads and stuff like that, and getting people's information, and yeah, and that side of things. So, and we're maybe a week into the new ads, so it's kind of scary and good because it gets so much where I have to pause things. um so it's kind of, I'm curious how that'll be. So for this year, we're already at 18 weddings, which
Nice.
has never happened. I think I've peaked at like 20 weddings once a couple years ago, and that was again hustling, grinding, posting, chasing brides and everything. So to have 18 weddings like 17 days into 2023 is like it's wild for me. So yeah, my plans are just to keep growing the business, keep you know setting goals that now I feel are a lot more visible, a lot more possible. um that could be in the number wise, that could be also, for me it's also maybe traveling a little more because I now can, I have a little bit more time, and obviously money to travel to these places. That was always my goal. So for sure those two things, if I can get those two things in, I'm a pretty happy guy.
Yeah. How many more weddings do you have that we're trying to fill for this year?
So I would say at least another 10, another 10 weddings, I would be pretty comfortable. You know, uh, 10 weddings, I like I said, they're gonna come in. I'm pretty confident on that.
100%.
So yeah,
It's
yeah. So
100% doable. I mean, the
oh
biggest
yeah,
thing is just like you already know what to do, and it's just a matter of just repeating the same process.
yeah. And what I've noticed too, and just to add on that, it's like I've kind of gotten to a point sometimes where it's like, you know what, this client isn't really the right one for me. Like I feel comfortable saying no. And back then, I'd be like, I'll take what I can get. And that's a thing I've never experienced before until now, because it's like I can kind of cherry pick, like, no, I don't want to work with that person for X reason, but I do want to work with this person because they're like perfect. They're ideal client, ideal budget, location is awesome. So it feeds my financial side, and then my creative side, and then just my emotional mental side, because this job is mentally exhausting. So when you can work with awesome clients and you can get to choose them, like I don't know what more you want.
Yeah. Well, of course, because you're no longer desperate. That's the easiest
Yeah.
way to put it. You know what I'm saying? So you're not so worried about like, hey, if I miss out on this couple, like what's next? How am I gonna pay my bills? It's instead like That's fine. I've got an abundance of leads. Like, chillax, Drew. Like, the next couple will work
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, yeah, and it's true. I was desperate back in the day. I was like reaching out and contacting every day, like, "Hey, are you still interested? Like, yes or no?" And now it's like, "All right, I don't have time for you," or "You know what? Sorry, it's not gonna work out." And I would have never thought I could do that. Like, that's super cool.
I found personally, like, it actually helps you just
Hmm.
operate the business better, but also it somehow in a weird way helps you with your sales process too. Because I think people can understand, like, if you're giving out that energy, like, oh, this guy kind of
Totally.
seems desperate, he just wants my money, like, you give off the wrong vibes versus like
Yeah,
when it's like, no, he's already booked. I can tell, like, he's legit in demand. Like, brides love that, couples love that.
and I was scared to do that for like the longest time. I just and not that I do that now because I'm booked, but it's also because it's like I think it's because it's I know what my ideal client is now, and just kind of figuring that out is like huge. And uh, reaching out to that ideal client and understanding like, hey, not everyone is for you, and that's okay. And like you said, yeah, clients definitely feel that vibe out. And I've been honest, on sales calls, like, you know what, this isn't going to work out because you're looking for X, Y, and Z, and it's just we don't match basically.
Yeah.
Um, and now I have that headspace to think in that sense. Before, I didn't even think that existed.
Yeah. I mean, in any business, there's really two things. Like, one is kind of a positive feedback loop, another one's kind of like a negative feedback loop. So the
Mm,
negative feedback loop is if I'm working with clients that I don't particularly enjoy, whether it's the style of wedding, the venue, or the price point, it affects my portfolio in a way where I now have a hodgepodge of portfolio. And then when I go to market myself, a hodgepodge of people look at that portfolio and the thing just spirals downward where you don't really establish a strong brand or reputation, where eventually people look at you as like, okay, this is a premium photographer.
mhm.
But then the positive side of it is the exact opposite, where you're kind of clear about who you want to work with, which establishes kind of a stronger portfolio, a stronger brand, which then helps you with your marketing and just goes kind of in a positive, faster cycle. That's kind of where you're at.
Yeah, I completely agree. I could totally feel the effects of that positive cycle. Because yeah, like you said, one thing affects another, and then everything just kind of works on auto. Like, it's weird.
Cool, man. Well, we'll keep this kind of short. This has been a nice little conversation. Thank you again for taking
Yeah,
the
no,
time,
thank you.
man.
No,
I'll
no,
see you.
anytime. Yeah.
I'll see you around the community, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, for sure.